A girl accidentally trips and spills her hot tea right on the face of a spoiled rich boy. Shocked, she immediately kneels down to apologize, but this boy isn't the forgiving type. He coldly demands that she cut off one of her fingers as punishment. His bodyguard wastes no time and pulls out a sharp samurai sword, pointing it straight at her hand. No one around dares to step in because this yellow-haired brat is the son of the most powerful local official. Backed by his cruel father, he bullies everyone without fear. But the real monster is the father himself. He squeezes every penny out of the poor people, using his power to crush anyone who stands up. One day, desperate villagers block his carriage and beg to buy back their land with everything they have left. But the official, blinded by greed, orders his soldiers to behead the man on the spot and leave the body out as a warning to others. Just then, while tension fills the air, a young man quietly steps forward from the crowd. Thinking he's just another foolish kid, the guards charge at him with swords. Meanwhile, far away in a nearby tavern, just as the girl's finger is about to be cut off, a red-robed swordsman appears from the corner and says to the official's son, "You people only dare to bully the weak and helpless." The henchman is furious and tries to fight, but in a flash his arm is sliced off. At the same time, a blue-robed swordsman makes quick work of the guards outside, finishing them in seconds and picking up 3 gold coins from the ground as his reward for helping. The rest of the henchmen charge in, but the red swordsman handles them easily. Suddenly, the local boss yells to stop. With a smug, arrogant face, he says, "My boss is the local official. If you mess with me, you'll die miserably, and my house has Yagyu clan masters as bodyguards." Before he can finish bragging, the red swordsman walks right up to him and chops off his yellow hair tuft with one swipe. Though scared and sweating, the boss tries to keep calm and says, "Aren't you afraid of the official? My family has 3 top Yagyu masters, and they'll be here any minute." The red swordsman gets excited and says, "Great, I'll wait for them right here. I'll count to 10 using your fingers." The henchmen quickly run to get backup, but just as they leave, a blue swordsman, the same guy who helped outside, walks in. The red swordsman thinks this is one of the Yagyu masters and charges at him without waiting for an explanation. The two are equally skilled and start fighting all around the tavern, moving from the outer room to the inner room, both going all out, and just as they're locked in a fierce duel, the one-armed henchman returns and sets the tavern on fire, wanting to burn everyone inside. No matter how strong the two swordsmen are, they can't beat the raging fire, and when they wake up, they're tied up tight. Turns out, the official's son, yellow hair, died in the fire, and now his father wants revenge. He lets the two swordsmen suffer a bit, and by the next evening, they're taken to the execution ground. A huge crowd gathers to see the beheading, but meanwhile, the tavern girl starts her rescue plan. It's already noon, and she's running out of time, but at the very last second, a dazzling display distracts everyone, and a knife is kicked right behind the executioner. The swordsmen free themselves and start fighting back, promising each other that after escaping, they'll finally settle who's the best. Surrounded by dozens of enemies, they move as if nobody can touch them, cutting down the corrupt official's men left and right, and in the chaos, they finally take down the local tyrant for good. But more and more enemies keep coming, and it's hard for them to break free. Just then, the girl climbs onto the roof, pulls out 2 fireworks from her chest, and sets them off as she jumps down, creating a sparkling distraction that lets all 3 escape into the chaos. Outside the city, the red and blue swordsmen face off, both wanting to see who's stronger. But the girl runs up, and to thank her for saving their lives, they agree to help her with one task. She asks them to find a swordsman with a sunflower scent. Suddenly, pursuers arrive again, so the 3 start a short but unforgettable journey together. Meanwhile, deep in the mountains, a woman with bare feet appears, and her enchanting smile catches a man's eye. He fixes her shoes, but not for free. Instead of money, he wants to spend a night together. Unexpectedly, the woman agrees right away. At night, it's like a romantic Valentine's dinner, but what's waiting isn't a sweet dessert, it's deadly murder. It turns out the day before, Wu Huan slashed off a man's arm, and for revenge, the man uses a honey trap to lure Wu Huan away, hiring a top assassin to finish the job and then planning to kidnap the team's only woman. On the way, 2 government officers suddenly show up, aiming to catch the mysterious Baigimaru, but she easily slays them both. Because of her scary face, Baigimaru has always been seen as a monster by her village. One night, they even tried to kill her, so in terror, she killed the whole village, and since then, she's covered her face with a scarf, hiding her looks so nobody will fear her. But Xiaofeng, who is kind, sees the deep sadness in Baigimaru's eyes and doesn't think she's scary at all. At the same time, in the bamboo forest, another deadly fight is happening. This is the legendary moment. Long time no see, so familiar, and just as Wu Huan encounters Baigimaru, he's been poisoned and can't fight at full strength, so he gets badly beaten until he slashes off her scarf, revealing her true face. Face hidden by low low self-esteem. And when her true face is revealed, Wu Huan finally stops attacking. But since he's still poisoned, he collapses and can't move. The one-armed man drags Wu Huan to the river and tortures him harshly, but then Feng sneaks up from behind and pushes the man's head into the water. Enraged, the one-armed man tries to kill Feng on the spot, but just as things get critical, Baigimaru rushes in from behind, locks the man in a chokehold, and strangles him to death right there. Wu Huan wakes up in a daze, not even seeing clearly what's happening, and immediately picks up his sword, wanting to fight Baigimaru. Meanwhile, the hired assassin, seeing his employer is dead, knows there's no money left in this job. He walks away with a casual, "Maybe we'll meet again someday," leaving the others behind. Baigimaru only saved Feng because he was the only one who wasn't afraid of her face, and this makes Baigimaru feel that maybe she's not alone in the world anymore. Elsewhere, a penniless man wanders into a restaurant and sits down right in the middle of a group of tough samurai, eating as if he owns the place. The boss rushes over, worried, telling Wu Huan that these guys aren't to be messed with. Facing 4 huge bodyguards, Wu Huan just wants some grilled meat, and even though swords are drawn, he calmly says, "I only want to fill my stomach." As the standoff gets heated, their boss interrupts, impressed with Wu Huan's skill and wanting to hire him as a bodyguard, with endless fake jobs and even crabs to eat. But 2 tigers can't share one mountain, so another bodyguard challenges Wu Huan. Only the winner can stay. In the middle of their fight, the boss interrupts, sending his man Ishimatsu to kidnap an old gambler's daughter. It turns out their gang's main business is running a gambling den, and the old gambler, hoping to earn some money for his funeral, ends up losing everything, including his daughter, who's dragged off to a brothel. To save his daughter, the old gambler turns to another small gang, but their boss prefers peace and doesn't want a gang war. However, the boss's son refuses to sit back. His teacher is the kidnapped girl, so if his dad won't help, he'll go save her himself, even if it means getting beat up. At the same time, a blue-robed swordsman, too poor for food, tries to get a little boy to hire him as a bodyguard, but he must first prove his skills. That night, an old man and a beautiful woman go to the brothel, saying they only want a performance, not company, but a man calls them over and asks for a beautiful song. Disguised as a woman, our hero enters the brothel, not to earn money, but to save the teacher trapped inside. Suddenly, an old rival appears, and just as the hero is about to attack, a woman leaps out of a cage. It's Xiao Feng, who was also sold into the brothel. Just a few days ago, the 3 leads were traveling together, but Xiao Feng kept nagging at the back, and Wu Huan finally couldn't stand it, deciding to leave her behind. They split up, and Xiao Feng's bad luck starts. She accidentally breaks a jar on the road, and the man demands $1 million in compensation. With no way to pay, she's sold into the brothel, where she meets her teacher. She thought she'd be changing husbands every day, but fate has other plans. The 3 main characters meet again in the brothel, but now each serves a different master, so they draw their swords and fight. Disguised as a woman, our hero plans to save the teacher, but halfway through a rival interrupts, old grudges flare up, and they fight until the Yamaguchi Gumi boss brings a large gang to surround them, breaking up the duel. Wu Huan is angry at the boss's actions. Should he kill his own people or let them go? Using a smoke bomb, our hero escapes, with Wu Huan in hot pursuit but unable to catch up. The hero hides under a bridge and tells the boy, "Just say your teacher is safe, but things need time." As the Yamaguchi Gumi's second-in-command, he's not happy with Wu Huan killing their own, but the boss values Wu Huan's strength. Having him means ruling the land with ease. Still, Wu Huan decides to leave, not wanting to rule or be ruled, trusting only his own power. One day, a gang member harasses Xiao Mei, and Ah Kun can only watch in anger as his teacher is bullied. Ah Kun finally snaps, and by the time people realize, blood is already on the ground. The man is dead, and Ah Kun is in shock. The Yamaguchi Gumi immediately sends men to the rival gang, saying, "Your brat killed our man. How will you explain this?" So Ah Kun's father goes alone to negotiate at enemy headquarters. But the Yamaguchi Gumi don't want a bloody fight. They propose a dice game instead. If Ah Kun wins, he lives. If he loses, he dies. But their real plan is to use this to swallow the rival gang entirely. Meanwhile, Wu Huan wanders alone, thinking about Xiao Feng. Even though they didn't know each other long, he can't leave her behind in this mess. At the same time, Xiao Feng tries everything to avoid nasty clients, pulling silly faces that actually attract attention. Her pet suddenly bites a client's finger, giving her the chance to knock him out and escape as people rush in. The dice game is about to start, the dice provided by Yamaguchi Gumi, but the smart dice roller must come from the rival gang. The rival rival gang's expert is late, and if he doesn't arrive on time, Yamaguchi's own cheat will take over. Everyone is anxious, knowing Yamaguchi Gumi is famous for cheating. Out on the street, Xiaofeng hails a taxi, racing to the casino, but as soon as she arrives, everyone thinks she's the smart dice roller and forces her to change clothes. Thanks to her smooth moves, Xiaofeng is treated as the real expert and dragged into the casino for the decisive gamble to be the dice expert. And before Xiaofeng can even explain, everyone is sure she's the one, quickly changing her clothes and bringing her into the gambling hall. With her smooth and funny moves, Xiaofeng gets dragged into the casino for the big match, and as the tension builds, the real expert finally arrives. But before anyone can react, chaos erupts. In the confusion, someone is found lying in a pool of blood, shocking everyone. The second in command of the Yamaguchi Gumi looks at his boss's fallen body and falls deep into thought, while the gang decides to take the rival territory by force, using Ah-kun as a hostage. Suddenly, a fight breaks out, and with Wu Huan and his friend working together, they manage to destroy the entire Yamaguchi Gumi gang. The boss tries to escape, but is stopped by his own second-in-command. Meanwhile, the main trio sets off again on their journey, but the second-in-command still wants to fight Wu Huan. The three friends arrive at the pier, but they're so broke that they can't even afford a boat ticket. Luckily, Xiaofeng is not only pretty but also young, catching Kun Kun's eye. Thanks to his generosity, the three finally eat their fill, and Xiaofeng tells them, "We have to earn enough for the boat ticket today?" So Wu Huan decides to become a justice hero and tries to reform three little troublemakers with love. In an alley, the three boys line up with bruised faces and willingly hand over all their pocket money, but the toughest kid still doesn't behave. The good citizen tries to work honestly at the pier, carrying sandbags, but a gold-toothed uncle calls him over, seeing the amazing bones in his hands and wanting to play chess. He says, "If you win, you can buy a house or car, no problem." But Wu Huan, hungry as ever, just wants to fill his stomach before thinking about money. The tough kid ends up getting beaten up, losing all his cash, and feeling embarrassed, but the boss lady, still loyal, gives him another bag of change, telling him, "If you meet the red-robed man next time, you must make a clear choice." On the wooden bridge, Wu Huan finally eats and remembers the boat fare. Coincidence brings him chasing after someone, only to run into Xiaofeng again in the suburbs. Xiaofeng is confident about her figure and wants to be Kun Kun's art model. At night, when Xiaofeng goes for her session, Kun Kun's face turns blue because his drawings just aren't right. He finally realizes he's not showing enough. Xiaofeng, being innocent, refuses to go further, but with Kun Kun insisting it's all for art, she finally gives in. However, there's a chubby pervert outside the house, peeking and exercising at the same time, swinging his sword as a dumbbell, losing weight while spying. Turns out, he's a city officer investigating a series of missing girls, and Kun Kun is now the biggest suspect. Meanwhile, our hero and the gold-toothed uncle have been playing chess for over 10 hours. When the uncle is about to lose, he knocks over the board, but our hero skillfully restores it, forcing the uncle to keep playing. Kun Kun finally finishes his masterpiece, but still isn't satisfied. And suddenly, the door bursts open as the unlucky trio arrives. It turns out, Kun Kun was in on the plot to traffic girls to Africa, and Xiaofeng is stuffed into a barrel, ready to ship out. But Kun Kun's conscience wakes up, and he tries to save the girl he hurt, only to be stopped in an alley by a sugar mommy. Usually he does whatever she asks, but today he refuses because there's a girl he truly cares about. At the warehouse, Kun Kun frees Xiaofeng, but she explodes in anger, and the two argue until the boss lady arrives with her gang to save the day. Meanwhile, Wu Huan is still struggling to make money, but the next day, while our hero is still battling at the chessboard, Xiaofeng is already being traded away. Wu Huan arrives at Kun Kun's place but can't find Xiaofeng. Then, he discovers the stone door has been blown open by the boss lady, and when he asks about Xiaofeng, he rushes to the warehouse and finds a suspicious barrel. It's the city officer lying in wait. At that moment, the unlucky trio is already sailing away, but suddenly, fear spreads across their faces as their lifelong enemy, Yu Huan, attacks and takes them down in seconds. But the troublemaker grabs Xiaofeng and runs, leading to a frantic chase just as the authorities arrive. The officer finally has all the evidence and issues arrest warrants, laughing, "Nameless gang, I have nothing left to say. I'll arrest you all." So the gold-toothed uncle, the mastermind behind the trafficking, is arrested, but even then, he keeps silent. That evening, Kun Kun says goodbye to Xiaofeng, preparing to sail for Holland and promising not to return to Japan until he's a famous painter. He reveals his painstaking masterpiece, saying, "This painting is just too beautiful, but I'll never forget you."